Hello, boys and girls, and we're here for another exciting episode of Let's Play Warlock 2, The Exiled. Now, we're still, let's just go ahead and end turn. Yeah, we have a new, mission. Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Ooh, right, I built a cleric. sorry. Just getting reacquainted with stuff. So we have a cleric, we have some healers going on. Right. We have a Snow Queen who thinks that she owns the place, and I think it's about time we educate her on that. So, well, why can't? Oh, it's still the same turn. What unit is? Okay, cleric. I'm gonna start moving the cleric up this way. We're gonna need her probably for dealing with Snow Queen. Actually, her healing ability is quite good, so something to keep in mind. I really hope these guys don't send in, like, if they start settling around here, I'm gonna be kind of annoyed because it just means we're gonna have to go to war all over again. And I've also been thinking I might. Now it's kind of tricky. Like, I'm tempted to put the fortress up here, but if I do that, like, I won't be able to directly attack anything coming through the portal. Although I could do it. The thing about fortresses, right, is the range is limited. They can only shoot stuff within their immediate surroundings. So if we build a little stronghold fortress city here, anything sent me through the portal, we can, take some shots at. Same could be said for here, though. The only problem I have with building here is that I don't even think we can build here. 1, 2, yeah, that's too close. It's tempting to build up here, and the reason why is I don't think I'm going to settle in this immediate area. There isn't any resources we can really make use of up here. It's tempting to say put in like a commerce city and just let it grow out and get really fat, happy, and rich, but other than that, there's really no reason to push for this area since, I kind of missed that there's a silver resource. Actually, yeah, we'll build up here. So hopefully we can, actually, we kind of want to build like a regular old city here if there's a silver resource. I didn't notice that. I don't want the swamps, because swamps there's a lot of issues with them. Essentially, if you build any buildings on top of a swamp, you have to pay maintenance. It's kind of like, oh, now I have to pay money, otherwise the building will sink into the swamp. But then, we'll just build another castle on top of it, and that one will sink in the swamp. But then we'll build a third one on top of that, and anyway, terrible attempt at a Monty Python reference. I don't even know why I bother. So, let's see, if I can, I guess now I can end turn. I'm talking too much. Let's get moving. Oh, goodness. Oh, that wasn't too bad. It was just this guy being a dumb jerk. He should handle that first before going after us.
Yes, my lord.
Now let's scooch up a little bit. See, we have the Snow Queen. She's still doing her thing. I'm gonna kind of retreat to here because I want to keep an eye on her, but at the same time I don't want to get so close that I just get wrecked up. Let's also get we need to get our cleric kind of sort of out there, so she can be ready to heal up our guys, because Snow Queen, she does a lot of damage and is just gnarly. So having a cleric kind of in a good position. Oh shoot, that guy could potentially kill our cleric. Let's deal with this jerk. Okay, he can't shoot him yet, but I don't know. I think they'll be okay there. I probably just made a terrible mistake, so. Let's do this. Deal with the city, maybe, and then go after Snow Queen Princess here. I'm thinking let's go ahead and start this quest. So basically, there's a whole bunch of rich dudes. They're complaining about how they've been robbed, and because they've been robbed, they've decided to try and rob other people. So, idiots. But, it's medieval times, and they don't have any insurance, so, yeah. Let's see. I forget what is better. Okay, I do remember how it goes. If we're nice, and, Okay, so basically, like to sum it up, these rich guys got robbed by some jackass wearing a green cap and living out in the woods with a bow and arrow. Gee, I wonder who that could be. And what happens is if you compensate the nobles, essentially you make them rich again, so Robin Hood can come back and rob them again, and that makes your peasants happy. But if you don't compensate them, if they just throw them in the jail, well, there's no more rich people for Robin Hood to rob, and so everyone gets unhappy. So it's better to just take the hit on the money, even though 150 is a lot. And eventually, like, there'll be some quests I've never seen before, but the ones I have seen, I'll kind of try to tell you what the outcome is. I've kind of given up, like, there might be some spoilers, I don't know. I kind of given up trying to regulate it, though. But for this one, oftentimes if there's a penalty associated with something, you get a better outcome in the end. So that's something to keep in mind. So now the portal's open. Ooh. So it's a Dremer world. The Dremer, they're almost like, they're not quite demons, but I think they're kind of portrayed as that. I don't know how to explain them, but think of them as, they're basically very powerful biological creatures. Like, they don't really do much magic themselves, but they can, like, parasitize stuff. So often you can bump into stuff like a former great mage who's been, like, a brain slug ate his brain. Now he's controlled by the Dweimers. Or Dramers. Or I think they pronounce them Dwemer, which you'd think it'd be spelled differently, but whatever. I didn't come up with the things. But they are gnarly. They can do a lot of physical damage, especially like missile damage. Honestly, they can probably one-shot even our upgraded shamans if they don't have any kind of missile protection, which we currently don't. So I have a little plan for that. I will show you the next spell I plan to research, and that should help with it. So, but keep in mind, like, if you're dealing with a Dramer world, there are two things you have to deal with. One, all the land in a Dramer world is considered like evil, and it harms units, like even undead. It basically, like, if you're not a Dramer, it hurts you. So that's something to keep in mind. Two, like, they're just really beefy guy. Like, so the land itself attacks you, as well as like the little Dweimers inhabiting it, and the Dramer dudes, they're gnarly, especially this early in the game. Now the cool thing about it, you remember how I said that there are some worlds that have a ton of holy shrines? Dramer worlds. The whole idea is the Dramer, they can't cast magic, but they kind of innately absorb magic and, like, the soul of a planet, basically. They feast on it. So they tend to go after worlds that are, say, riddled with holy grounds, or just, once upon a time we're kind of like this world, like green and verdant and full of life energy. So essentially, like a Dramer world, it's kind of like a big, it's almost like, you imagine this world, right? But then, like a evil bacteria, fungi type thing kind of started growing over everything and overgrew it all and mutated the plants and killed off all animals except for Dramer. Yeah, it's kind of like that. And so you often do get holy sites, and where you can build holy cities on top of. And those, I turned off the ability to win the game by claiming enough of those, but they're still really good. And we'll go into that if we find any. But if you find them, even on a Dramer world, it's possibly worth trying to colonize. Even though you have to keep in mind it's going to be difficult at first to clear out a Dramer world. Like, you're going to need a big, strong army with very particular buffs going on. So we'll plan for that. I kind of want to go and, because these guys, like, once you adjust for them, once you have, like, the right kind of magic spells and everything, they can be really actually productive worlds. Like, you can terraform the land around it, and if you can find, like, a holy shrine, or also some really useful metals and stuff, they're actually kind of good worlds to find. But at the same time, you have to understand, it's going to be, like, you need a big army to push into that. It's almost like, I don't know, like if you've played StarCraft, and you can almost imagine how like it would be if you want to try to go and recolonize a Zerg world that's been overrun by Zerg biology. It's a similar idea, I suppose. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll show them off once. I'm not going to enter in yet. I need to clear all these last little final bits and bops that are getting in our way. But once I do that, yeah, we'll definitely enter in there and check it out because they can be quite good. So let's see, construct a building. I'm half tempted to have him just build a settler and then essentially build a new city like over here and then cancel him. Then we'll have two elf cities. We'll be able to go in here. Like I could focus one on say mana production and the other on just unlocking like military units. It's a possibility. Because I mean, we will get a happiness penalty for building too many elf cities because they're mad at us. You know, it's like, oh, what are these human bullies who've come and taken our lands and forced us to join them. And you know they get upset, and it's pretty like it's pretty easy to rack up the unhappiness building a ton of quote unquote other race cities. Even though I never enjoyed or enjoyed. I never really liked the term race in fantasy to denote what should be considered species. You know, sometimes, yeah, you can have an elf and a human can have a child. Therefore, same species. Therefore, the term race makes a little bit more sense. But, I mean, the idea of, like, a giant and a human having a child together hardly ever happens, right? Or like, an orc and a human. It depends on the setting, but oftentimes, like, it's implied that, no, they're actually different species. And you know, like, or you know, even it gets awkward too with like undead. What do you call undead? Is that like a race, or is it a different species, or what is that? I suppose like we're actually gonna have to tackle some of these issues. Oh, it's asking me to build a building here. I'm just gonna continue to pump up the gold for now, since I don't really want to keep this city per se. So let's a tax office. Why not? Yeah, see 50% production, etc. We'll eventually tear the city down though. I don't like its placement, and I don't want too many elf cities anyway. I definitely want to keep this one because that's pretty good placement. So yeah. But what I mean by this is right. Eventually, technology like genetic engineering. Even like cybernetics, all these things are going to eventually start changing people. You're going to start to get, essentially right now, you know, we're all the same species, we're all Homo sapiens. Well, what are you going to call, say, someone who has replaced all their internal organs with nanotech machinery or an artificial intelligence? Like, what is personhood? Like, and are they still the same species as a human if, say, you've altered them biologically through science, through our understanding of genetics, to the point that, say, they can live in the vacuum of space or swim deep into the ocean? Yeah, you know, those kind of things. And you wonder, like, will they still be called part of the human race? Are we going to have conflict between these groups? It's interesting stuff, and it's kind of fun to speculate on. But I like to think like the definition of humanity is going to become broader and broader until we no longer have kind of this concept of other. It's like you're an intelligence or you're not, or you're some kind of sensate creature or you're rock. And a really interesting book on this subject is it's by Ray Kurzweil. He's written a bunch of it, but you know he kind of got the idea of the singularity and all that. And the singularity, if you haven't heard of the concept, let's see, what do we want here? We continue to go for food buildings, make this like an enormous city. Let's see, it'd be -4, but get 75% production on food. Right now, the city is making, okay, so 14, 75% would be, see, so like 1/4 of 14 Well, let's say that's kind of close to 16, so it's like adding 6 additional food. So I think we would be. It's gonna break even on this structure, but then it unlocks a bakery, and when we build that, it's just going to improve things even more. So I think I'm tempted to put in a mill, and the mill will look nice. We'll put it out on these flat plains. Yeah, I'll keep this a food city for now. Eventually, I'm gonna once I get all the main food buildings in, I'm gonna switch it to gold. And I don't know if I want silverwork armory per se, because silver weaponry is quite good in some cases. I wonder if I pull this up, it'll let me. Now, if you go down here, you can see all these special buildings based on map resources, so like quaddles, and you can kind of get an idea what does a quaddle do? Well, it's a good amount of death magic, like high hit points, high movement. They're pretty nasty, and you also get giant turtles. These guys are really hard to deal with. Actually, they do They breathe fire, first of all, because all reptiles breathe fire in fantasy settings. Because they're all dragons, right? They also look at the hit points. That's some of the highest hit points you'll see in the game. And they're amphibious. So, if you're fighting one and you almost get it down to nothing, it will swim away from you. And it's very hard to pursue them because they can kind of dodge away into the water. I hate late game jungle worlds for this reason. They're full of giant turtles, and they're really hard to deal with. Also, turtle shell essentially makes them nearly immune to melee and ranged or missile attacks. So, good luck with that. And these. Oh my goodness, Kiss of Itlacoluque. I never understood the whole idea of so in Dungeons and Dragons and other fantasy settings, they have in here they call them coatls. Sometimes they'll call them lizard people. But why don't they gravitate towards the idea that lizard people equal the Mayan civilization? I never understood that. Why? Just because they worship a feathered serpent deity? So do the Australian Aborigines. Actually, if you think about it, even Christians kind of worship a reptilian deity. People argue against that, but you can basically, and I think most theologians agree with this, Christianity isn't really a monotheistic religion. It's more of a dualistic religion. And essentially, you can kind of see, it's tricky. It depends on your interpretation of it. And, if your interpretation of Christianity is different, please don't think I'm trying to bash you or anything. I actually think it's good to have faith in something. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so considering the fact that the serpent in the Garden of Eden, it's meant to be kind of Satan or Lucifer, his influence on the garden, kind of taking God's initial concept of the garden and corrupting it. He's almost the antagonist god to the creator god in a way. It's an interesting interpretation, but and it almost goes back to even in ancient Greek religion, all of the initial creator beings were either sort of like Uranus, the sky god, sort of like human-like creator deities, or they were monstrous races that were the offspring of Echidna and Nyx and sort of like the chthonic beings that were all kind of half human, half reptile. So I think somewhere way back in the day, there must have been some kind of a faith where they saw that serpents are powerful. They're powerful creatures, and they're surely they must be representatives of some serpentine deity that is in opposition to sort of the deity that because humans are seen the traditional enemy of a human being is almost seen as being like a poisonous snake, and I don't know. It's curious. I've taken a couple of theology courses, and it's kind of fascinating what people come up with. So there's also a little bit of they think the Proto-Indo-European people mostly worship the idea of birth, and like because they saw that as sort of, life comes from, the feminine force of the universe. Like one of the earliest objects of worship we've ever found they're called Venus figurines, and it's basically, it's a tiny little stone carving of a female woman with extremely large breasts and also a very pregnant belly. And it's sort of like our interpretation of that is that at the time, it was a bit more matriarchal than society grew to be, and they also worship the concept of, life and death, and birth was seen as this positive force in the universe. While, possibly like sort of more phallic imagery, like, serpents, long. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into it, but what were we doing? Oh, okay, we're done with the city. Goodness, I haven't even done a single turn. I get to talking. Apologies. I kind of want to order them to build a settler because I need to start filling up the other map just with as many settlers as I can get. Let's also, gosh, I was doing food in this one, and I'm starting to think it's close to time to convert them, but into some other kind of city. But let's do, I'm gonna let them pump out a couple of settlers, and I'll just build a tax office, get a little extra gold going. Because I'm going to want a lot more gold. A demand. Ooh. Okay, so these are... Yeah, he's mad at us. And he's demanding that we give him a spell. There's no way. See, there's no way to negotiate. You either fulfill this demand, make him a little bit happy, or you go to war. And so we're at war again. Yeah, this is the AI will constantly go to war with you. Unfortunately, he's doing it right when my settler was in a vulnerable position. Very annoying. I'm gonna scoot, just back away. I'll send the mage over here. I think the mage can actually like finish these two off. Like, I don't think they have much hope of surviving. So, kind of scoot forward and blast them. Let's see, how much can I do? Can I? Yep, one shot. Boom. Goodbye. One and done. Yeah, the AI is kind of stupid. I mean, I wish it eventually, after beating them so much, that they would say, you win. We clearly are outmatched, and we agree to be your toady. We will be your little vassal and do whatever you want us to do. Like, I mean, they did a pretty good job of setting stuff up that way in, like, Civilization. I don't know, like, especially Civilization 4, you could have a whole vassalage system, which is great. It not only did it fit kind of medieval times pretty well, but it also, it's kind of fun. Like, you can have a big empire, but not have to, you could basically have like a little core of cities and then a whole bunch of vassals around you. And I don't know, I like the dynamic of it. And for a medieval game like this, based on kind of medieval times and all that, they should have gone for something like that, but oh well. Oh boy, yeah, he's gonna actually, well, that was lucky. I don't know why the knight just turned around. Oh, that's why they turned around. They're freaking out because the Ice Queen's crushing them. This is actually kind of if this continues, this is a pretty good situation for us, because we can kind of sit back and finish off anything that the Ice Queen weakens. And yeah, like it's almost free kills for us.